Hello folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to have a wee look at what's been happening on the bench. Now, I'm in the process of working on a Trade Federation battle tank. I'm doing the weather for that at the moment, and I'm making that video as well. However, I wanted to just drop this video just as a wee update on what else is happening. I've been building another model in the background as well, and I'll talk about that in a second. I want to quickly talk about another model that's coming up in the future. I spoke about this recently. It's a studio scale model. It's a filming miniature replica from The Empire Strikes Back of the battle droid, not battle droid, got a bloody battle droids in the head. Probe droid, Imperial probe droid. You see them getting fired at the Star Destroyer at the start of Empire Strikes Back, and then they go to the ice planet, they find all the rebels, and yeah, we all know the story. Filming miniatures were made for the little ships that carry these droids to wherever their destination is. There's two made. I will be making the two, but the first one I'll be making what they call the long pod, so that was used for a side-on shot, and then they made a shorter version of it, slight variation, slightly different, for a back-end shot like that, but we'll discuss that more in the videos to come. In the spirit of that model, I wanted to get my teeth into doing a wee bit of scratch building, using a variety of different kits as donors for all my parts to make this model. And I've been wanting to make a pod racer for a while, so I decided I would do that, and I got a wee bit of a shunt on, a wee bit of inspiration in doing that, and actually get my finger out and start the project from my friend Ollie. Ollie's a fellow member of the Nerf Herders Workshop, and Chris, the creator of the Facebook group, he runs regular shows. You can get them on YouTube. If you check out the Nerf Herders Workshop YouTube channel, you'll find them there. There's some really informative videos there. A lot of really interesting stuff about, you know, how studio scale stuff's made. There's a couple of guys who are actually working or have worked with Industrial Light and Magic, and have been model makers. So, and there are also guys out there who are insanely talented artists. They're not just model makers, they're artists. The guys, you know, guys with engineering backgrounds and sort of different technical backgrounds, and their abilities are just mind-blowing. Anyway, and their knowledge, and actually what was used, how ILM went about it, it's just incredible, and they're so helpful. And if it wasn't for guys like that, then I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. Anyway, digressing again. So, thanks to Ollie building his pod racer, and I'll show you some pictures of Ollie's pod racer at the end of the video here. Ollie's done an absolutely fantastic job. I can't fault it at all. He's selected some really interesting shapes and parts from different model kits, and he's just put them together in such a way that it looks as though it was meant to be, and it looks as though ILM's built this, and the paint job he's done with it, or he's still in the process of doing, is just phenomenal, and you'll see that at the end. Anyway, so moving on to my pod, I decided what I was going to do is I was going to use a 1/144 scale Saturn V rocket as the basis for each of the two engines. So 2 kits, 2 engines. So I've started the first engine, and I've selected this part from the model kit. This is the shorter of the thicker cans, if you like. It's a hollow styrene tube with some pre-moulded on greeblies. It clamps together 2 separate parts to make the tube. I'm actually going to whip these off. I'm going to get some sander into this and just get these off, because actually I'm going to panel it with some sheets of styrene, and I'm also going to have some cutaway sections. So we're going to have a square cutout at the top, and you're going to look it down into a well where there's going to be some some gubbins, some engine parts. And I've already created one of those little engine bays, and this is it here. So it's just a little styrene box. It's made for some standard styrene sheets and plastic card. And what we've got in here is the top section of the... No, it's not Merlin, is it? Pegasus? I can't remember. Rolls-Royce engine for the Harrier. The Hawker Siddeley Harrier. So that's the 148 scale by Tamiya. The Sea Harrier. Quite an interesting kit. Not a huge amount of parts in it, but there's certainly some good parts in there for model building. So we've got a lovely, nice engine section here. This is actually the part of one of the thrusters for the side of the Harrier. Now you'll see here, it's sitting on top of something else, actually a bucket from the 8rad model kit. There's loads of other things in there. There's some flak. There's actually, these pipes here are just parts of a 1mm styrene pipe, no tube, look at just styrene rods. Just I bought a pack of them off Amazon, about 50 odd of these things, and they come in handy for all different bits and pieces. It's a bit of a 172 tank in there. I can't even remember, it was just one of the cheap Airfix ones. So there's a few bits and pieces going on in there, and all I'm doing here is I'm just sticking them together, just making something that looks as though it's meant to go. Lorne Peterson, one of the ILM originals, OGs, as you call them, he talks about parts connecting. So if you have part A, part B, there should be some way that some of these parts maybe connect, maybe even go off to part C, and it just makes it look like it's actually a functioning engine. If you just have 3 or 4 different greeblies all stuck together, they don't always necessarily look as though they're working in as one machine. So he talks a lot about connectivity, which is actually quite interesting, and I find it just was just the ticket to just bring this thing together. So we've got a pipe run from here to here. We've got a couple other ones just at the corners here, as if, I don't know, coming for fuel pumps or whatever. So, you know, to me it looks as though it's a part of a functioning model or a functioning object. And here, actually, this, if you can see this wee white part, it's actually the landing skid from a Bandai 172 A-Wing. Thought it was quite nice to actually get an actual Star Wars part in there. ILM done that as well when they came to making things like Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back. They started using some of the NPC model kits that were released after A New Hope. So they were actually making models with the models of the models that they'd made, if that makes any sense. Confusing myself here. Anyway, so that's one of the greebly bays, or the greebly pits, if you like, and that's going to be on here, but not stuck on. There'll be a hole cut out. You'll look in and you'll see this inside. So this, obviously, this is the main part of the engine. So we're going to have a front end, and you're going to have a hot end where all the thrust comes from. So this is it here. Again, this is one part of the Sat 5, so my brain's not working the night. It's been a busy day. Good. So we've got that part here, this white part and this grey part, which are both from the Sat 5. Again, this 1mm rod snipped off just to give it a bit of interest, a bit of detail. And then this, believe it or not, is 2 wheels from the Lotus kit that I bought, the 1 in 20 scale Lotus kit that I bought for the next project, which is this long pod, this long hyperspace pod for the Imperial probe droid. However, the wrong scale. I needed the 112, not the 120. Idiot here bought the wrong scale because he wasn't really paying attention to what he was doing. However, it's not going to waste. And thanks to Ollie, he sent me on the actual size part that I need for the big build coming on, but we'll talk about that later on. So I thought, I don't want to waste these. I want these to, I've stripped the silver actually off this. This is still the original silver. Used a bit of bleach and stripped the silver off that, but I couldn't be bothered doing the rest of it. I get distracted with other stuff. So the theory is whew, that's where the thrust comes from. This is all going to be nice and silver when I paint it. and then I'm going to get the blue in effect, so as if, you know, the heat has changed the colour in the metal. That's the plan, but you'll see that when we come to the paint job. What else have we got? We've got the front end. I'm really pleased with how this has turned out, if I'm honest. So this is the bottom end of the Saturn V rocket. These parts have flipped them round. They should go down the way, these fins, but I've flipped them round, and this is going to be the intake at the front. And what we've got here is from the Harrier, the 148 Tamiya Harrier as well. So I think that is the cover for the large double wheel that sits kind of in the middle of the fuselage. It's got two wheels that come out for the wings, the Harrier. When it lands, it's also got a double wheel at the bottom, and then it's got the front wheel as well. So that's the cover from that. So that's on there as if it's a kind of air brake. There's actually a little piston in there as well that you can see, just as if it's a little bit of hydraulics to lift up the air brake, so it looks like it's functioning. And what we have in here, Cool Shade. Now, Cool Shade is this material here. I want to quickly talk about that. It's this material here. It's just a thin metal, not gauze, but it's a thin metal sheet, and it's used as a blind. Well, a shade, hence the name Cool Shade. I think it's for windows to sort of reduce the amount of heat that's coming into buildings and stuff, maybe in hotter climates, maybe not in Scotland, This is a new version of Cool Shade. Cool Shade stopped making, the company that made Cool Shade stopped making it, but another company has started making the same stuff. However, it's not identical to what you call vintage Cool Shade. That stuff goes for an absolute fortune. If you're building so this is used in the wing of the TIE fighters, see the solar panels, that's what this stuff is. It's also, it's on hundreds of different models built for Star Wars. It's on the Millennium Falcon, the round vents at the top. This is the stuff that's in it as well. The vintage stuff goes for an absolute packet. This is the newer version, still in production, so it's fairly cheap. I think for an A4 size sheet, it's about £6 or £7 from eBay. To me, I think that's an absolute bargain, and the uses for this in modelling are almost endless. So you're only limited by your imagination, as far as I'm concerned. There is a difference though. So I can't remember how many louvers. So each of these little bits here are louvers. So for each inch, there should be so many louvers. And the original, so they're slightly less, so the gaps are sort of a wee bit wider on this newer version of Cool Shade. But I'm not prepared to invest a huge amount of money, unless I was building something where I did invest a lot of money in the rest of the parts, then I would maybe consider it. But for scratch building my own stuff, I don't think it's really worth paying out for. I've got a couple of sheets of that because I've actually got something for further again down the line. I've got a few models, ideas in my head that I want to make, and so I'll need that for that as well. So I've used that in the front here, so at the front of the intake. So this will sit like that. This will be the intake here. This will all be painted black, so you'll not actually see the white back in there. And then we've got a little, you call it an engine bullet or whatever, sort of almost like the kind of, I don't know, front nozzle part. I don't know what we call that, but it's a greebly. We'll go with that, that'll do. So just adding a bit of detail there. So that's just plain styrene that I've just cut out using a little compass-like styrene cutter. And again there we've got a wee bit of trim there just to kind of neaten up the edges and help secure the Cool Shade. Just a bit of super glue on there just to secure that nice and firm. So I've cut out a big disc, stuck it onto the inside here so that we had something for the Cool Shade to actually adhere to, and then we'll get some black paint onto that so that it's you don't really see it, and then we'll use some silver to just highlight, maybe put a bit of dry brushing or something, just to highlight this here. I've used just a set of tweezers or something just to put a couple of dings and bends as if maybe, you know, we've had rocks or something hitting at the inside of the engine. So we've got some fins just as a control surfaces or whatever. I like these parts here. because it's sort of widened up, almost a bit like an air scoop, like a ram for a jet engine or something like that. So, so that's where we're at with that. So that will go together a bit like this. See? And then we've got the hot end, as they call it, at the back. Ta-da! Still got a bit of work to do. I'm not sealing up the two ends of the engine at the moment, because as I say, I want to get this all sanded down, and then I want to get a couple of holes cut into the, well, certainly a hole cut at the top, one at the outside, so we can get some nice bit of greebly action going on at the side here, and there'll be some stuff at the other side, just where the little, what do you call them, sort of energy binders that holds the two engines together. You know, there's that electrical lightning-y cool thing that holds the two engines together, and they scoot along the desert or wherever they're racing. I'm not actually going to put that in, so I figured in my head, we're building a studio scale sort of type model here. This, you know, kind of like a filming miniature almost, and that bit would be added in as CG. So I've seen people using LED filaments and stuff, and it looks cool, looks absolutely brilliant, and I'm not criticising people for doing that. I really quite like that, and I do have the basic technical skills to wire up a few LEDs and light a model. However, I wasn't really, what's not really my focus here. My focus here was just to experiment with a bit of kit bashing, and a bit of sort of scratch building, and I wanted to just let my creative energies flow in this one. So the next big job is taking the Dremel sander to this and getting rid of all these moulded on greeblies, and then start cutting out some panels. And I've got a little, I'll not get it down there now, I've got a little nibbler tool just for cutting out little notches, a wee tribute to the Millennium Falcon there. You'll see a lot of that in the panel in the Falcon, so again, that's something else that's going to be a feature on this. So I wanted to pay a bit of a homage to Star Wars and the models, but put my own spin on it as well. So a couple of nice sort of vintage type features on there, although I've been a thrifty Scotsman, as Ollie likes to call me. I've decided to just cut a few financial corners. So this is the Revell kit, not the Airfix kit, readily available, 35 quid, buys you this kit, and it's pretty much identical to the Airfix one, a good alternative, and again, cheap ass cool shade, 6 or 7 quid a pop, as opposed to, well, hundreds of pounds for the original vintage stuff. And there absolutely is a place for that, for the people doing the real hard up, you know, absolutely screen accurate models. And then we've got some wee greebly pits going on there, a la Millennium Falcon. This actually a larger version of this for the 124 Harrier. Airfix Harrier kit is used in quite a number of models as well in Star Wars, so I thought that was a nice wee touch. It's in the AT-AT, it's in this couple of them in the Sandcrawler. There's tons of them, they're everywhere. Again, some other nice traditional parts. The Lotus wheels as thrusters, again just a wee homage to the kit there, or sorry, the model we're going to be building moving forward. This part here is absolute pure Morzer Carol. Morzer Carol was a big railgun that the Germans had built during the Second World War. It was like a big 60cm mortar thing, huge big thing. There's a 172 kit of that from Hasegawa. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, I might be butchering that. But that's, again, a really, really popular kit in the Star Wars ILM model arsenal. And then, as I said to you before, a wee bit of scratch building, just adding my own flair to it. And that's where we're at with that. Right, thanks very much for watching, folks. I've now rabbited on for 20 minutes. If you've got this far, well done. My wife doesn't even listen to me for that length of time. Don't blame her either, right enough. Anyway, I bore myself sometimes. Right, I'm going to crack on. I've got a few things I want to do tonight before I go back into the house. Thanks very much for watching, and have a quick look at these pictures of Ollie's pod racer, and give the guy a wee bit of love. Thanks very much for watching. Cheers, now.